Hello, and welcome back to my humble show. I am your host for today and every other day, the Articulate Thinker, hopefully, here to bring you art articles and articulation straight from Articulation Station. So be sure to like, subscribe, and enjoy the ride. Don't forget to turn on those bell notifications while you're at it. I'd call it a dinner bell, but it is lunchtime and I am on my lunch break. Oh well, I'm going to be talking about the Bidens today. Some of the latest, greatest news about the Bidens. Starting with this headline from Fox Business. House GOP to subpoena Biden family bank records don't lie, Representative Comer says. So, Representative James Comer, GOP eye subpoenas for Biden, Hunter, in influence peddling case. And if you will notice, there's a clip playing down here below, and I will play that in just a moment. In fact, I'll play it right now. Here it is. Peter Doocy asking Joe Biden a question.
There's this testimony now where one of your son's former business associates is claiming that you were on speakerphone a lot with them talking business. Is that what?
Never talk business with anybody. And I knew you'd have a lousy question.
Well, why is that a lousy question?
Because it's not true.
Huh.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks for nothing. So, Joe Biden calls it a lousy question. It's not lousy. There's a lot to question right now. And he has a lot to answer for. But, fresh out of his multi-week vacationing, he doesn't even care to talk about these things. I mean, why would he? It's not a good look for him. It wouldn't be a good look for any president, so why would they want to talk about it? Whoever happens to be the president. Just so happens to be him right now, and he just so happens to be apparently a pathological liar. But let me break this down just a little bit, because his answer isn't a direct answer to the question. It is a default, dismissive answer, which he seems to have pre-programmed himself with. Let me play it one more time for you.
This testimony now where one of your son's former business associates is claiming that you were on speakerphone a lot with them talking business. Is that what?
Never talk business with anybody. And I knew you'd have a lousy question.
Well, why is that a lousy question?
Because it's not true.
So remember how Joe Biden, for years and years and years, was saying that he never discussed business with his son. He said he had no knowledge of any of his son's business or business dealings. And then, more recently, the White House seemed to switch up their message to saying that Joe Biden was never in business dealings with his son. See the subtle distinction there? Well, now he is back to the original message, that default dismissive message. I never talked business. Never. But that's not exactly what the question was. The question was about, in a sense, whether or not Joe Biden was even on all those phone calls, which have been testified to by Devin Archer, etc. So Joe Biden didn't actually directly answer to that. But of course, he says it's not true moments later. What exactly is he referring to? I don't know. Seems like he doesn't like the entire premise. He doesn't think that anyone should ask him any questions about any of this. A very entitled man, very elite man, if you ask me.
Question.
Because it's not true.
So he says it's not true. Which part? Like all of it? Okay, then you're definitely a pathological liar. Because regardless of the level of guilt and proven crime which you believe has been found at this point, there is no denying the fact that there is a very lengthy trail of money, bank accounts, shell companies, ties to foreign businesses and business partners among various Biden family members, especially with Hunter Biden, and that's coming from multiple countries. We're hearing about Kazakhstan now, but there's all this talk, all this realistic talk about corruption with regards to Ukraine, Russia, China. Quite a trail. So, to stand there, and after all this time spent dodging questions, say dismissively and defaultly that it's all wrong. It's just wrong. And that it's a lousy question to even ask a basic question about all of this. That should tell you something about not just Joe Biden, but the Bidens in general, since all of them are running cover for each other at this point. And again, I say that to an extent where I'm acknowledging that there are some things that just aren't fully proven at this point, except for the fact that there are more questions than answers. I mean, we need answers, but the people who need to be answering the questions are entitled, are elite, and they don't care how many receipts you have. They are going to deny, they are going to lie. But we'll see if they actually get subpoenaed. Just in, this is a tweet from Colin Rugg. Fox News reporter Peter Doocy literally had to jump over a fence to ask Biden a question about his conversations with his son's business partners during his time as vice president. Doocy, there's this testimony now where one of your son's former business associates is claiming that you were on speakerphone a lot talking business. Biden, I never talked business. So he's backtracking from the I was never in business to the I never even talked about business stage, which is disputed, for example, by the fact that he was literally sending letters signed by hand to Hunter Biden's business partners and thanking them for working together. Well, okay. And if that's not enough for you, he was also meeting and greeting and even wining and dining with other business partners. So we're going to talk about all of that and then some in today's show, or at least I am going to. And you can let me know what you think down in the comments below. Feel free to disagree with me on anything I say. But yeah, Biden said, I never talked business. I knew you'd have a lousy question. At least he didn't call him a stupid SOB this time around. Okay, so is Biden lying or does he just have dementia? And in case you were wondering whether or not Peter Doocy did indeed jump over a fence, apparently this is a video of it. Parkour Peter Parkour.
Yeah, unless you get the explicit invitation. What I think is interesting.
Let me play that one more time. Happened as I was making the video full screen.
Yeah, unless you get the explicit invitation. What I think is interesting is that now
funny.
the White House will say the president answered this. Mm-hmm. Well, no, now, because now you just contradicted your press secretary who contradicted herself. So at some point, somebody is going to get a chance to actually ask President Biden a question.
Yeah. So that's a little clip from The Five on Fox News from yesterday, I believe. Earth's Nine Wonders. See there in the Chiron. That's a reference to Joe Biden referring to, I think, the Grand Canyon as one of the 9 wonders of the world. Yeah, he doesn't do numbers very well, apparently. He did correct himself on that. But, you know, a lot of gaffes from the laugh factory that is Joe Biden. At this point, backing up a bit, before I get into this article from Fox Business about the subpoenas, which may or may not actually, be attainable, considering we're talking about the president and the president's family, the first family. Well, I want to go back even further, starting with this. Better yet, starting with this. Breaking call logs reveal Hunter's business partner was much closer to VP Joe Biden than thought. So this is an article from 2 days ago from Trending Politics. This is kind of where I left off last time I was talking about the Bidens. I think I was talking about some of this and ran out of time. Eric Schwerwin, a longtime business associate of Hunter Biden's, may now be the next main target of the House Oversight Committee, which James Comer is a part of. Mr. Schwerwin was a much more frequent visitor to Obama White House than previously thought, and visited the administration at least 36 times. says the administration, because there were various buildings which were visited, including the White House. This information about Schwerin comes after Devon Archer's deposition before the Oversight Committee, where Archer, another business partner of Hunter Biden, showed a letter in 2011 where then Vice President Biden wrote, "I hope I get to see you soon again with Hunter." And yes, he was obviously aware that they were working together. Call logs reviewed by Fox News have now shed further light on the proximity of Schwerin to Biden. The proximity of Hunter Biden's business associates with Joe Biden is an eyebrow-raising fact. In Schwerin's case, his visits or visitations to the White House could have been much higher given that there was a policy to not release records about purely personal guests. How convenient. Visiting the executive mansion. Hunter's ex-wife, in her memoir, called Schwerin the person who managed almost every aspect of our financial life. Woo! Wait a second. That doesn't raise any eyebrows at all, does it? Hunter, in an email, observed that Schwerin was a close confidant and counsel of his father's. Back in 2014, Peter Schweizer, a longtime investigator on the Biden family, said of this, "If Devon Archer was the sort of business guy, the deal guy in how you structure this, Eric Schwerin was the money guy." Schwerin has been established as the person who worked on Joe Biden's book deals, tax returns, and managed the bill payments between Joe Biden and his son, Hunter. In one email dated April 9 of 2010, to Hunter, Mr. Schwerin wrote, "Sorry, too much indecision, and I was dealing all afternoon with JRB's, as in Joe Biden's, taxes, but solved a big issue, so it was all worth it." We might be talking about taxes a little bit further on in this show. In an email on June 10th of 2010, Schwerin informed Hunter that your dad's Delaware tax refund check came today. I am depositing it in his account and writing a check in that amount back to you since he owes it to you. Money exchanges hands an awful lot in this family. Don't think I need to run it by him, but if you want to, go ahead. If not, I will deposit tomorrow. An email dated July 6th from Schwerin to Hunter noted that your dad just called me about his mortgage and mentioned he'd be out a lot soon and not really back until Labor Day, so it dawned on me it might be a good time. Also, he could use some positive news about his future earnings potential. There's also correspondence between Schwerin and Hunter from December 9, 2016, where Schwerin demanded Hunter refill his bank account to pay various bills, including an AT&T bill marked for Joe Biden, his father. Yeah, he was paying a lot of his father's bills as he was making money from foreign countries. Once again, definitely doesn't raise any eyebrows, does it? Hunter previously stated both he and his father shared a bank account. Okay. Here's the thing. At this point, in order for Democrats to make excuses for Joe Biden, they have to call Hunter Biden a liar on so many different things. Like the WhatsApp messages. People who are sympathetic, if not outright simping for Joe Biden, can't necessarily deny those recorded documents, if you will. So instead, they just say, "Oh, Hunter Biden was a drug addict, so can't really trust his word on anything. He was just lying in order to get favors? In order to do what exactly? What was he selling? Oh, his father's name, but his father knew nothing about that. He was just a willing but unintentional participant in, selling his own name through his son all around the world, including during the middle of business meetings in which he was a virtual participant through phone conversations. So many things that just don't raise any eyebrows at all. Rise. Whatever. Okay, this is slightly out of order. My tabs are not correctly tabulated here. Okay, here's something from yesterday. Comer releases third bank memo detailing payments to the Bidens from Russia. Kazakhstan, and Ukraine. Not to mention China, which Joe Biden himself lied about, saying the Bidens had not received any money from China. Of course, because there is a trail, an aforementioned trail, we know that was a lie. Or either he's just a moron, or both. And I feel bad saying that sort of thing about anyone, but at this point, the fact that there can be so much to see, so much to look into, and then Joe Biden can say that it's, well, what was the word he used? In speaking with Peter Doocy for a few seconds. Well, he scoffs at the idea that anyone could even ask him a question about any of this, because it's just wrong. It's just wrong. Even if it's right, it's still just wrong. Even if it's entirely right, though, it's still wrong. Just so you know. And in case I didn't already mention it, it may be right, but it's technically wrong. Even though it's technically right, it's still wrong to ask. So you're wrong for asking, even if you're right. Even if you're right in everything that you're asking about, you're wrong to ask it. So there's that. Again, thanks for nothing, Biden administration. Yes, so I'll speed read this. House Committee on Oversight and Accountability Chairman James Comer, Republican from Kentucky, my former state, today released a third bank record memorandum detailing new information obtained in the committee's investigation into the Biden family's influence peddling schemes. The memorandum, what is this word? It's covered up by a Twitter symbol. The memorandum, something. I can't see the word. Let me see if I can fix that. Oh, there we go. The memorandum outlines, there we go, how the Bidens and their business associates received millions from oligarchs in Russia, Kazakhstan, and Ukraine during Joe Biden's vice presidency. After Hunter Biden received millions of dollars in payments, then Vice President Joe Biden dined with his son's foreign associates in Washington, D.C. Devin Archer, Hunter Biden's former business partner, recently testified that then Vice President Joe Biden was the brand sold to enrich the Biden family and was used to send signals of access, power, and influence. So how can you phone in to meetings with business partners, be put on speakerphone, communicate with them all, and still claim that you never discussed business or had any knowledge of business, like no knowledge whatsoever? It's not like pleading the fifth. You're basically pleading ignorance at this point. At what other point would you be like, gloating that you knew nothing? I knew nothing. Come on, everybody. Don't ask me these questions. I knew nothing. Okay, so the rest of the time he's like, with age comes wisdom. And therefore, since he exaggerates his age and says he's like 180 years old, because it's cool at this point, it's cool at this point to just basically have a chuckle over how you're the oldest president in the history of the country. On the way into office, it was, it's ageist if you talk about age. Now he's just like, I know I've been around a long time. It's hard to believe it. I'm 180 years old right now. He says that sort of thing and then just laughs about it because now it's not ageist anymore. But it's so accepted that it's acceptable to just, well, I don't know. Whatever it is that he's trying to accomplish at this point. I'm not 100% sure. I guess just dismissal, denial. Ultimately, in regards to any of this Biden crime family corruption, where was I here? Yes. Hunter Biden's former business partner, Devin Archer, recently testified that then Vice President Joe Biden was the brand sold to enrich the Biden family and was used to send signals of access, power, and influence. During Joe Biden's vice presidency, Hunter Biden sold him as the brand to reap millions from oligarchs in Kazakhstan, Russia, and Ukraine. It appears no real services were provided other than access to the Biden network, which is still corrupt, including Joe Biden himself. And Hunter Biden seems to have delivered. This is made clear by the meals at Cafe Milano, where then Vice President Joe Biden dined with oligarchs from around the world who had sent money to his son, said Chairman Comer. It's clear Joe Biden knew about his son's business dealings and allowed himself to be the brand sold to enrich the Biden family while he was vice president of the United States. Though he claims to be extremely wise while simultaneously claiming to be, well, ignorant to so many of these issues. Or at least one big issue, one great big issue, the issue of Biden crime family corruption. The House Oversight Committee will continue to follow the money trail and obtain witness testimony and determine whether foreign actors targeted the Bidens, President Biden is compromised or corrupt, and our national security is threatened. Considering the Ukrainian/Russian quagmire which we are caught up in and funding, I feel like his previous financial ties to both countries, even if only through his son, are relevant for investigation. Below is a summary of the Third Bank Records Memorandum. The full memorandum can be found here, and there's a link to that, but I'm just going to read this for now. Committee staff is releasing payments from Russia, Kazakhstan, and Ukraine that occurred during Joe Biden's vice presidency. The committee has now identified over $20 million in payments from foreign sources to the Biden family and their business associates. Hunter Biden and Devon Archer used Rosemont Seneca entities to bring in millions from oligarchs in Europe and Asia, using accounts nominally tied to Devon Archer, but using the familiar Rosemont Seneca branding. Hunter Biden received incremental payments originating from foreign sources, attempting to hide the source and size of the payments. Not just any kind of payments. A lot of these payments were made after a discussion between, you guessed it, Joe Biden and Hunter Biden's business partners, associates, whatever you want to call them. I mean, there would be a meeting, there would be a conversation of some sort, and then, lo and behold, money would come through, or a Porsche. And I don't have time to get into too many more specifics. All of this information right here is from the Committee on Oversight and Accountability. Yeah, oversight.house.gov. You can look it up for yourself. It's a press release from yesterday. But let me just read through the rest of this before I move on. In February 2014, a Russian oligarch sent $3.5 million to a shell company associated with Hunter Biden and Devon Archer. Russian billionaire Yelena Bacharina transferred $3.5 million to Rosemont Seneca Thornton, a shell company. Approximately $1 million was transferred to Devon Archer, and the remainder was used to initially fund a new company account, Rosemont Seneca Bohai, which Devon Archer and Hunter Biden used to receive other foreign wires. In spring 2014, a Ukrainian oligarch placed Archer and Biden on the Burisma board of directors and agreed to pay them $1 million. Big ones, buckaroos, per year. Burisma Holdings, or Burisma, corporate secretary Vadim Pazarsky worked on behalf of the Ukrainian oligarch and owner of Burisma, Mykola Zlochevsky. Hunter Biden was initially hired by Burisma to work as counsel for the company. Counsel. Yeah. Wonder what that could mean. And Pazarsky and Zlochevsky met with Hunter Biden at a conference in Lake Como in Italy, where they decided Hunter Biden would work on the board of directors with Devon Archer. Then Vice President Joe Biden visited Ukraine soon after their first payments. But only soon after. Payments from Burisma for both Devon Archer and Hunter Biden were wired to Rosemont Seneca Bohai. Payments were transferred in incremental amounts to Hunter Biden's different bank accounts. I wonder if Joe Biden had his hand in any of those bank accounts, since they had a tendency to share, since sharing is caring. In April 2014, a Kazakhstani oligarch wired the exact price of Biden's sports car, the Porsche, to a bank account used by Archer and Biden. In February 2014, Hunter Biden met with Kines Merkishev, not too familiar with that name, at a Washington, D.C. hotel. Rakishev worked closely with the Prime Minister of Kazakhstan, Karim Mazamov. In April, Rakishev Kazakhstani oligarch wired $142,300 to Rosemont Seneca Bohai. The next day, a payment was made from Rosemont Seneca Bohai for a sports car for Hunter Biden in the amount of $142,300, the exact same amount. Archer and Biden then arranged for Burisma executives to visit Kazakhstan in June 2014 to evaluate a three-way deal among Burisma, a Chinese state-owned company, and the government of Kazakhstan. Hunter Biden received millions of dollars in payments from Yelena Baturina, Burisma, and Kines Rakishev. Vice President Biden had dinner with them in the spring of 2014, 2015 in Washington, D.C. So he was whining and dining with these people. But he knows absolutely nothing. They must have just talked about the weather the entire time, don't you think? So let me run a quick Google search for Yelena Baturina, just because her name has been brought up in all of this a lot. Yelena Nikolaevna Baturina is an international billionaire, businesswoman, and a philanthropist of Russian origin. She is based in London. She was married to Yuri Lazkov, mayor of Moscow. Yes, that is why this is a big deal. Until his death in 2019. In 1991, she founded Intico, an investment and construction company. Yes, she is often referred to as the former wife of the mayor of Moscow. All right, what else do I have time for? Let me see what time it is. Almost time for me to go back to work. Mike can rattle off a couple more minutes. House GOP will subpoena Biden family, says Republican chairman. Of course, that chairman is James Comer. House Oversight and Accountability Committee Chairman James Comer said that his committee, which has been investigating the foreign business dealings of President Biden's family members, will eventually move to subpoena the Biden family. A move Comer hinted could include the president himself. This is always going to end with the Bidens coming in front of the committee. We are going to subpoena the family, Comer said Thursday on Fox Business. And rather than reading through the rest of this somewhat lengthy article from The Hill, I could pull that Fox Business article back up since Fox Business was just referenced. Much of this article is just a repetitious quotation of what James Comer said in an interview from earlier in the day. I don't have time to play that either, but it's in this article here. And here's what the article says. President Biden and his son, Hunter, may have their day in court as the House Oversight Committee prepares to subpoena the father and son duo amid the ongoing probe into the family's business dealings. Of course, things like this were very difficult to pull off when it came to Donald Trump, though his son did some testifying in front of Congress. But in this case, it will be even more difficult because D.C. is over 90% blue. Yeah. Representative James Comer joined Mornings with Maria Bartiromo on Thursday to discuss the latest fallout from the Biden family business probe, telling host Maria Bartiromo that the House Oversight Committee plans to subpoena the Bidens, putting together a case. And I think we've done that very well. I would agree, but there is still more to see. I would be all for bringing the Bidens before Congress and making them testify under threat of perjury. But I don't know if I see that happening. I mean, just think how difficult it was to get the FD 1023 document from the FBI, in which the Zlochevsky, CEO of Burisma, had stated apparently that the Bidens received $5 million apiece in lieu to pressuring Ukraine to firing the prosecutor, who, as of the last few days, has apparently been making some statements, speaking for himself and claiming that yes, Biden did want to get the prosecutor, Victor Shokin, fired. Unlike what people on the left have said about how, well, he was only fired because he was corrupt. People all around the world wanted him fired. Victor Shokin wasn't just fired because Joe Biden said to Ukraine, fire him or I'll withhold all of this money from you. No, according to them, he was just corrupt and needed to be fired, even though the next guy who was hired to replace him was literally corrupt to the point of having a criminal record. Go figure. But yeah, that's what they would have us believe. But Victor Shokin, take it for what it's worth. I would imagine he would say that he was not fired because of corruption. So there's that. Not trying to give him too much of a benefit of the doubt here, but I'm just saying. He has been saying that Joe Biden is the liar here. But the GOP-led committee released new Biden family bank records showing that the Bidens took in at least $20 million from countries such as Russia, Kazakhstan, and Ukraine. Again, that's not even to mention China. I wish the media would ask the president, what exactly did your family do to receive this $21 million that the House Oversight Committee has proven? He just continues to say, well, that's a lie. That's not true. We have their bank records, Maria. Bank records don't lie, Comer said. The House Oversight Chair continued, arguing that he and his colleagues have caught Biden in so many lies as the president continues to deny any involvement in his son's business. Any involvement whatsoever. It's like overcompensating. If he just said, well, I was aware of some things, but I didn't play a direct role, so overall, excuses. But instead, he's like, I know nothing. I'm extremely wise, yet know nothing. Trying too hard. It's going to come back to bite you. It's going to come back to biting you. Now, this is always going to end with the Bidens coming in front of the committee, Comer said. So, in the wake of Kevin McCarthy and others saying, this is leading towards an impeachment inquiry, I'd say this is also something that would be nice to pull off. Might bring forth some accountability, some actual transparency, which the Biden administration has promised us since day one but never delivered on, which is why Joe Biden never even does press conferences. And when he does, he has pre-selected questioners and questions, pre-scripted even sometimes. The Kentucky representative continues to dig deeper into the Biden's family web of business dealings. After numerous documents and countless testimonies, he is confident in the case that the committee is building against the Biden family. This is a complicated case, and we're being obstructed every step of the way by the Department of Justice, by the FBI, by the Secret Service, by the IRS, just ask the IRS whistleblowers, and by the Biden family attorneys, Comer explained. Despite being stonewalled by the government's top institutions, Comer said it will not stop the committee's efforts. We continue to produce evidence every 2 weeks, about every 2 weeks. But then again, after every bit of evidence is produced, another indictment comes down. So I wouldn't be surprised if any day now, Georgia goes after Donald Trump, as it appears they are going to do. Here's an article from yesterday. Foreigners paid more than $20 million to the Biden family, according to Associates bank records. Wait, I read that wrong. $20 million was paid to Biden family and associates, according to bank records. There we go. Got it right. And I briefly mentioned taxes earlier. I don't think taxes were paid on this money. I mean, that's what I heard just a little while ago. Someone said that this money was kind of off the record, kind of under the table, And despite Joe Biden all the time being like, pay your fair share and we need to tax the rich more. Well, some tax evasion tendencies, seem to be tied very directly to the Biden family. That's interesting. But just like Joe Biden is talking about taking guns away from people, and assault weapon bans and all that. Well, his own son was guilty of some gun crimes, and he was going to get away with that with a slap on the wrist. So there's that. A lot of hypocrisy. But that's like Joe Biden back in the 90s, talking about getting crack cocaine off the street and locking up everyone who touched it. Meanwhile, his son, Hunter Biden, was smoking a literal butt crack load of it. Though I don't know when exactly he started with that. And I hope that he has since recovered from that. I truly do. But considering all that they are still lying about to this day, from overseas business dealings to the number of children/grandchildren are in the family, well, I don't trust them on much of anything. Yeah. And keep in mind that cocaine was just recently found in the White House, and we don't know who. We don't know who put that there. Though there is new reporting that it came from the Biden family orbit, whatever that means. We shall see if there is any transparency. Though if you leave it to the White House, you're not going to get that. Hopefully some people will blow the whistle. Some more people. There have already been quite a few. Okay, so yes. Some of the same information is in this article. I don't have time to read through it. It's from the Epoch Times. Had some more stuff pulled up here. This is a tweet from Steve Guest. I guess when they said that Joe and Hunter would talk about the weather with their foreign clients, it was whether, different spelling, or not to get a silver Porsche or a black Porsche. Linked is an article from Daily Mail with the caption reading, Joe dined with oligarchs who paid Hunter. New bank records detail $20 million in foreign cash to Biden family, including $142,000 from Kazakhstan oligarch president's son, used to buy Porsche after D.C. dinner, which Joe Biden was a part of. So in other words, Joe Biden had a nice dinner with some notable people, and then shortly thereafter, notable people paid money, which ended up in Hunter Biden's hands in the form of the steering wheel of a Porsche. Yes. And I believe that was $142,300 to be exact. So, yeah. The caption there is providing a rough estimate. Here's the actual article from Daily Mail, but I don't have time to read through it either. I guess the summaries, which are summarized here in the summary of this article, are that bank records confirm Hunter bought the sports car after $142,000 approximately. Wire was sent. Details how Russian billionaire Yelena Baturina sent $3.5 million to a shell company, which the Bidens have also basically been denying, since they deny pretty much everything. Or at least Joe Biden does. Hunter Biden has admitted to some stuff. But then the same stuff that he has admitted to, Joe Biden will deny. So, yeah. Contradictions. Republicans say Devin Archer and Hunter used firm to hide foreign payments. A lengthy article, including pictures of Hunter Biden smoking crack while driving. Payment documents from Burisma Holdings Limited in Rosemont, Seneca, Bohai. Okay. All right. Goodbye. Good night. Definitely don't have time for the rest of this. So, wrapping it up here. Thanks for watching. Keep in touch. Keep in tune. New content is coming soon. Peace.